Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the December 13th monthly water resource outlook from the Northeast River Forecast Center. I'll be doing the briefing. This is Ed Capone along with Steve Noguera this morning. We also have Rob Shedd in the office with Neil Strauss. Nicole Belt from the Weather Forecast Office, Taunton, is also here. Our next briefing will be January 10th, and then we'll transition over to the winter-spring outlooks. I'll talk about that a little bit later. As we look at our visible satellite imagery the last couple of days from the MODIS imager, we can see that we've really got into a winter look. The entire Northeast has got some snow cover, that gray look to the earth land portion of the satellite image. But what I wanted to show here is we have that prolific plume of moisture coming off the Great Lakes and the lake effect snow showing up here in western New York off the two lakes. And as we see on our no-risk snow imagery, we have quite a snow cover across the Northeast, although it's very limited over much of the area, but it's much different than it was last year when the snow cover in December was confined to central and really northern New England. But what I want you to look at is the over 24-inch amount of snow, which is it's in the lee of the lakes there. They had a tremendous 2 to 4 foot snow lake effect plume in the last few days. Okay, this is the water vapor imagery from about the last 12 hours or so up to early this morning. And you can see the flow. It's been pretty cold across the Northeast. You can see the flow on the water vapor imagery from the Northwest across the Dakotas and then across. You can also see some moisture now beginning to be tapped coming up over Mexico and Texas, and that's going to have a role in our weather starting tomorrow through tomorrow night and into Sunday across the far north. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Since we last spoke middle of November, we had a very wet system towards the end of November around Thanksgiving move through the area with 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. And we've also had several Arctic frontal passages move through the area. It has given us this widespread snow cover. And of course, we talked about the potent lake effect bands. Much of the region still trended with below normal precipitation, but here across the southern New England area, we were a little bit above normal precipitation-wise in the last 30 days. And we've been dominated by below normal temperatures the last 2 weeks across the Northeast. We look at our 90-day departure from normal precipitation, we can clearly see that other than that rainfall we just had, we've been very dry across much of southern and central New England, up to 4 to 6 inches below normal for the dry fall that we had. And only western New York, we were slightly above average in precipitation in the 90 days. Looking at 180 days, well, we were talking about this and thinking, why were we so dry still in southern New England? Well, this starts just after Tropical Storm Andrea came through the region. And you can see in the last 180 days, we're still holding on to quite a deficit of precipitation in southern New England up to 4 to 6 inches, while the rest of the area is primarily pretty close to average, a little bit above, a little bit below. And as we ended on November 30th, the hurricane season, as you look there, Andrea, June 6th and 7th was the only thing to affect the NERFC service area, where we did get a prolific rainfall event, 4 to 5 inches of rainfall in that event. Stream flow from the USGS across our region has greatly improved to below normal to normal across much of southern New England, where it was much below normal a month ago. Southern New York has also improved with normal to below normal readings. A lot of the areas you see in Maine and northern New York that have no data, they're already all iced up. And our groundwater has also, from the USGS current groundwater maps, has also improved somewhat over eastern and southern New England, but we still have several wells that are below normal to much below normal across interior southern New England. And this is one flow duration map chart we look at, a 7-day average discharge over the period of record, 72 years at Norwood, Massachusetts. The black line is the current stream flow. And you can see a month ago we were really at the, let me put the scale on here, we were at the much below normal range. And then you can see one rain event brought us back up into the normal range. But as we were looking at this earlier, much of the graph in the last year has been in the normal range with that dip in the fall without the precip in that area. But this also indicates how shallow or short this droughtiness is, because one event brought us back up to normal. So our observed and forecast river locations in the northeast, we're showing that no flooding next few days. We do have a lot of ice-affected gauges where forecasts are really showing the normal flow we would expect from our models as the gauges bounce all around with ice effects. We look at our water supply reservoirs. New York City is at current 81% in their system. That's part Delaware and part the Ashoke and Schoharie system. So they're like 8% above normal there. Quabbin Reservoir is in normal condition. Scituate Reservoir in Rhode Island is 81%. It's about normal reservoir elevation. And Lake Champlain, you can see, is within several inches of the normal reservoir level for this time of the year. So the lakes and reservoirs are doing fine. We look at the Drought Monitor from December 10th, and there is still a abnormally dry area in eastern New England and parts of southeast New York to moderate drought. This is a deficit in rainfall over the last 6 months, as I showed earlier in our graphs. This is somewhat better, of course, than it was a month ago because of the 4 to 5 inches of rain we've had in eastern New England, keeping us in this abnormally dry to slight moderate drought condition. What I wanted to show you here is this is the CPC Seasonal Drought Outlook. And this map has not been updated. This is the latest map from them. Has not been updated since November 21st, so it does not reflect the pretty good rains we've had in the last 2 weeks. So they have us in this drought persists or intensifies, where we anticipate this will go into either an improvement or a development stage, but not in an intensifying stage, with what we've seen the last couple of weeks and some of the precip events we anticipate the next couple of weeks.
Okay, looking into the future, we look at we're looking for week 1 for normal to below normal temperatures and above normal precipitation. The models they're all indicating the potential for a brief significant warm-up late next week. They've been having a hard time handling the warm air. They've been trying to bring warm air in over the last couple of weeks several times, and it really hasn't been very, very successful over a long term. So we'll have to keep an eye on it, but it does look as though there's the potential for a significant warm-up toward the end of next week. Looking at the 48-hour QPF, you've still got the lake effect bands, although they will be diminishing over the next 6 to 12 hours or so before they restart again. But you can still see the lake effect bands there by Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. But a more widespread event will start during later Saturday or Saturday evening and move through very quickly, probably through southern New England by Sunday morning, and then it'll race off across northern and eastern Maine during the day Sunday. The heaviest precip with this next system looks as though it'll be over eastern and southern New England, where we're looking at the potential for around an inch of liquid equivalent. And I say liquid equivalent because even though we are going to warm up briefly toward the end of this storm, it looks as though the precipitation is going to come in so fast, and we've got this Arctic air over us, that most of the precipitation, even down along the coast, is likely to fall as snow before it tapers off to some drizzle or freezing drizzle, perhaps some rain, along the immediate coast south of Boston, across the Cape, the islands, and maybe right near the coast in Rhode Island. But we're looking at basically a snow event, and it could snow pretty hard tomorrow night and across the south, and then a little bit further north into early Sunday. So again, looking for about 1 inch to 1.25 inches in southeastern New England, and then that tapers off as you move further north, with actually not very much across far northern Maine. Again, week 2, below normal temps, above normal precipitation. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. Like I said, we're a little bit hesitant with the models, even though they're trying to project a warm-up for the end of next week. As I said, they've been trying to warm things up, or at least the climate models have, over the last couple of weeks, and so far we've not been successful in getting that warm air up the coast and into New England. When we look at the NAO and the PNA, the NAO is the North Atlantic Oscillation, the PNA out on the west coast telling us whether heights are low or high. Generally, when you see the NAO with positive values, where Ed is showing you their forecast in the future, that generally means that you allow a southwesterly flow to develop over the eastern part of the United States. And that's supported if Ed moves over to the right with the Pacific North American Index. When that is negative, that also tends to support warm air moving up across the eastern part of the United States. So those two together, are really showing a pretty strong signal that we will warm up toward the end of next week. We'll have to keep an eye on this, because all it takes is a minor change in things, and or for this NAO not to become so positive, or that you end up holding the cold air in North America instead of allowing it to go into the Atlantic, which is what we're looking at the possibility of right now. This is our storm that we were talking about. This is actually a model run from earlier. It looks as though it may be a little bit slow compared to what we're looking at now, but we're going to have low pressure develop over the mid-Atlantic, well, actually move to the Ohio Valley, redevelop along the mid-Atlantic states, and then race off to the northeast. Plenty of cold air around, so again, we'll see mostly snow in most locations, and then perhaps ending as some rain or drizzle or freezing drizzle in the southeast part of New England. And looking at the jet stream, you can see that we've got that the winds during this weekend ahead of that storm turning to the southwest up around 500 millibars. That should allow for some of the moisture to come out of the Gulf and help with this system that will be developing off the mid-Atlantic states. It doesn't look as though it's going to become a very intense system, but it looks as though it's going to have a lot of moisture with it, but it's also going to be moving exceptionally fast. And by the way, it looks as though we will get back into cold air again for the start of next week. As a matter of fact, there's even the potential for another minor snow event somewhere along about Tuesday across New England. Now, this is what we're looking at for the 21st. You can see instead of having a northwesterly flow out of across eastern North America, you've got low pressure strung out from western New York all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico, and with the counterclockwise flow around that low, you can see southerly winds all the way up into Maine. If this were to verify, we'd end up with a pretty significant warm-up, as well as the potential for at least a period of some heavy rain. And that's looking at the 21st, looking at the jet stream level. You can see how instead of having a big low across near the Great Lakes, pumping cold air down, that is shifted to the west, and we have a broad southwest flow across the eastern part of the U.S., again, probably leading to that warm-up that I've been talking about. Looking at the CPC 8 to 14 day outlooks, they've got us below normal temperature-wise during that whole period. But again, as we head towards week 2 in this event, I think we're going to see that above normal temperature trend gradually work its way north. And with the southwesterly flow out of the Gulf of Mexico, between our storm that we're going to have this weekend and then the potential for that warm up and the moisture being transported northward next weekend, we're in above normal precip.
And as always, you can check out this information daily on our Hydromet briefing page. Our products from the NERC are on the left column, and the national products are on the right-hand side. And from our national products from the Weather Service and GS, etc. Also, our presence is on Facebook and Twitter, and this is one of the items we put out the other day. We're looking at some new snowfall maps, snow depth maps, and you'll see monthly summaries here, and almost every day you'll see some item of interest from the River Forecast Center. You can check these pages out. Our winter-spring outlooks will begin January 10th on Friday. They'll be done every 2 weeks into May. Of course, the emphasis will be on how the snowpack and ice is going to affect our rivers. And those Fridays are the weeks of snow surveys across our site. Coincide with that. And that's it for this briefing. Any questions?
Hi, Ed. This is Joe up in Caribou. How are you?
Good.
Hi,
How you doing,
Joe.
Hi, Steve. Hey, good. I just want to pass along. It's my first one I had a chance to sit down on this year, and especially coming into the winter season. Excellent job. Anyway,
Thank you.
question, just the remarks I have for here, for our HSA is, one thing is the frost depth. We do a measurement right here at the office. It's down to almost 8 inches.
Okay.
Okay, in some areas it's actually dropped to about 1 foot. So that's ahead of schedule. Just one note for you. And the other thing too is, as far as the rivers up here, many of them are open, but there is ice, and we had some ice movement with some of it jamming up in spots last week. But with this major Arctic blast that came in, when you guys know better, it looks like things are going to start to lock up again. But then, pointing to that event Steve was talking about late next weekend, that could be still a different story, to where if we get the warm air like that, especially with the Europeans showing, that could actually cause things to move again.
Yeah, that's something we'll have to watch next week. Thanks a lot, Joe.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, hi, it's Linda Hutchins from SPCR.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, that map you showed for the drought forecast,
Yes.
it's kind of funny. I had been looking at that this week too, and I hadn't noticed it was dated November 21st, that seasonal one, not the monthly one.
Yeah, so it missed all the precip, the 4 to 5 inches. That we did have.
So do you know when that's going to be updated again?
Probably not till December 21. It's usually that once a month period around the 20th.
Okay, so you think that monthly map is probably more accurate at this point?
Well, the weekly map is more accurate. That monthly one may be a little bit overdone for the persistent drought, because it doesn't have all that rainfall in it. That'll be updated in another week.
Yeah, the short-term one is showing improvement, which I'm kind of optimistic about.
Yeah, we feel the same thing will happen in that map.
Okay,
we're going to have a couple of events too in the next week.
Okay, I think you know, but our Mass Drought Management Task Force just canceled a meeting on Monday, an upcoming meeting on Monday, and I'm kind of hoping we don't have to reschedule it for January, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
No, you like snow. You don't want to reschedule that meeting. You want more precip.
Yes, I do. Yeah, we canceled it because things are looking better, and it doesn't look like we're ready for a drought declaration here.
Okay, thank you for the comments. Anyone
right.
else? Okay, if not, well, January 10th will be our next briefing unless something happens with a big warm-up event next week. Thank you.
Thank you.